Well, you saw him there, now the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Sello Hatang, with us in studio. It's great to have you back with us in studio. Sello, although, sure, so many things happening ahead of this specific day this year, can I start with your comment on the tavern murders, on mass shootings, on what we saw in East London? You know, that old refrain, what would Nelson Mandela say now? There are people saying things like South Africa is on the verge of collapse. South Africa is becoming a failed state. The police are nowhere to be seen. What do you think? What are you thinking about in the midst of all of this?
Thank you very much, Francis. The last time I was here with you was 2019, sure. So good to see you again. I think we meet under really tough circumstances for South Africa, ranging from the price of fuel to Eskom and load shedding to the killings that we're seeing in our country. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we hosted a dialogue on the rule of law. It's clear that what we were discussing back then is really something that we have to contend with, about how the rule of law in South Africa is really it's very, very difficult to even say it exists. Because if you have a situation where children can get into taverns, I was saying last time, and again, I want to start off by passing our deepest condolences to the parents who lost their children, 21 children, but also to the families who lost their loved ones just yesterday. And all these incidents remind us that South Africa has a very difficult relationship with drugs and alcohol. It starts with that parent, that uncle, who sends the child to go buy alcohol when they are little. I was once that child, Francis. I'm lucky that, of course, I'm alive today, but luck shouldn't be.
Do you remember how old you were?
Could have been about when I started buying alcohol, cigarettes, could have easily when I was 8.
Wow.
So these things, they become familiar. Too familiar to the child, because it becomes a place of familiarity, they can visit it. So it's said that when an incident like what happened in the Eastern Cape happens, we then are shocked as a nation. We shouldn't be. We should then be asking ourselves, what are we doing to ensure that we enforce the rules that need to be enforced, not to always look up to government. On the Soweto and the KZN murders, I'm saddened by what's going on, because it tells you that South Africa is really on that tipping edge, where if we don't do anything today, we might not have a country to talk about tomorrow. And I'm hoping that we are not too dramatic. Stuff this year, just today, in fact, we're marking the anniversary of the uprisings in KZN. The circumstances that made it possible back then, the fertile ground is still there.
And that's what business organizations are saying. That's what many organizations are saying. It could happen again. So that makes people feel very hopeless. Nelson Mandela about hope, the day about hope. Yeah, how do you bring hope amidst all this hopelessness? And I think people are feeling very overwhelmed.
You know, Francis, I think there's still hope, because we still have a country today. But we have it because many South Africans are saying it won't fail under my watch. And if we are going to do that, not just relying on politicians to do it for us, as community leaders, we must begin to say, as a nurse, whatever station you have in life, you can make that difference that changes the people that interact with you. And once we start like that, it means we're beginning to recognize that there's a leader in each one of us to steer the country in the right direction. The second thing that's important is that despite all our challenges, we still have people going to work. We still have SARS collecting the money that needs to be collected. We still have some form of infrastructure still working. Of course, this despite the fact that there's corruption, maladministration, and all these ills that particularly affect local government. And I think despite all those things, I'm still saying there's hope. Because if Madiba didn't lose hope when he was in prison, there's a favorite letter of mine which Madiba wrote in 1969. He'd only served 7 years in prison. Yet he said to his children, don't worry about me now. I'm happy, I'm well, full of strength and hope. He had served 7 years in prison. He still had 20 more years to go. But he was happy, well, full of strength and hope. So if he didn't lose hope, who are we to lose it? We must continue to put pressure for accountability. Those who must be prosecuted, but we must make sure that this country stands despite the challenges.
All right, so your theme is around food insecurity, food and nutrition. Just tell us about some of the events of the day, how people can get involved as well.
So we start off our program on the 17th. As we said, that we'll be doing a lot of our activation in the Eastern Cape to go back to Madiba's birthplace. We'll be working with Chief Unkosi Zwelivelile in the Eastern Cape in Mvezo. So on the 17th, we've got vegetable gardens that will be cleaning up. Those that we need to plow will be plowing to show people that you can do it in your backyard. But also we'll be planting trees. So we are hoping to plant over 200 trees on the day to say to South Africans, the target that we've set ourselves as the Nelson Mandela Foundation, which is 1 million trees by the end of July next year, you should contribute towards that. And then on the 18th itself, we will have 17th, we'll have a program here in Johannesburg in Howto. I'd like to say to the viewers, please join us. We'll have the inaugural Nelson Mandela Houghton Run and Walk. It's just 8 kilometers, Francis. Each one of us can
Maybe I can do it.
Please, Francis. Because then from there, we've partnered with both Discovery and with Ladysmith Black Mambazo. So in the afternoon, Ladysmith Black Mambazo then will be playing what we hope will be an annual event where they might move it around the country year on year. So hopefully people can join us. On the 18th, we will again be in the Eastern Cape, doing some work in the Eastern Cape.
So, of course, before he died, Madiba lived in Houghton. The house, is that central to this at all?
Yes, so as you know, he lived in 2 homes in Houghton. So first he moved into a home that we've turned into a home for people to use as a place for accommodation and also to enjoy the company of their families. So that's on 13th Avenue, and that house will be central to that walk. It's called Sanctuary Mandela. Then the house where Madiba passed on, which is in the next street, people will also be passing by there. So both streets will be have walkers walk through. And I think for us, you might know the many stories. You meet some old ladies, they say, we used to see Madiba walk by and then he would stop and greet you and take a selfie with you. And that's what we're trying to reenact. We're going back to Madiba's saying that fitness helps one, not only physically, but also mentally.
So the day comes at a time when there are so many local challenges. We've spoken about those, international challenges as well, and this is a world event. How do you sort of affirm the relevance of the foundation right now?
You know, the power of Mandela Day is that it's pulling people together. And this includes what's happening in New York. So we're going to have an activation in New York. As you know, this was declared an international day by the UN. So it's a UN day.
Yeah.
And as a result,
tell us about the UN as well, how they will be marking it.
So as a result, we're working with the UN on it. And I think importantly is that on the 18th, the city of New York and the UN will then be commemorating the day at the General Assembly. Earlier on, I spoke to a permanent representative at the UN, and we're happy to announce that the keynote speaker on the day will be Prince Harry, who will give the keynote address to the UN. We're hoping that he will then be looking at global politics, but also looking at what can we do to do differently. The world is at conflict at the moment, and this is one of the first things that we would like people to know, that Prince Harry will then be delivering that speech to then say to us, there's hope for the world. but each one of us must contribute towards that hope.
All right, it sounds like a wonderful lineup, a lot planned, and thank you for bringing that message of hope tonight amidst the news. And of course, we'll follow all those events here at SABC News. Some of us may get involved in that race. That was the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Sello Hatang.